Alright guys, today we're going to be building another computer, as you can see. This is going to be our Corsair case. It should be pretty dope. We've got a 750 EVGA supernova. We have RDG strix Z370. We have H11 5i. This should be cool. Lots of RGB on this one. 4 terabyte, 960. I wanted to put this on mine, but I have to rebuild my entire PC if I want to use that. i7. And we have 32 gigs of RAM. So first thing we're going to do is unbox this, and then we already know that there isn't going to be enough space to put this on the top of the case, so we're going to have to put it on the front of the case. Wow, look how shiny that is. So don't peel this plastic off until after you're done building. First thing you want to do is take your thumb screws, loosen them off, loosen all them off, take off all the plastic. It's just 4 for each. Next, once you get those screws off, if you just get your finger under here, that's just magnetic kind of, and then you'll have your Phillips. If you're going to be like me, I have to move my cooler for my CPU to the front. Next, just loosen off these screws that are on the back of the case, so that way we can just remove this side panel. You'll see that you'll have your parts box in here. We're just going to remove these just for now. That way they're off to the side. And yeah, just squeeze them, pull them out. Once those are out of the way, then we're gonna come over here, and then in here is where, of course, your PSU is gonna be sitting. Go along here, you'll see a whole bunch of those thumb screws like this. If they're really tight, just use a Phillips to loosen a bit. Once you get those 4 that are along here, slide this all along. You might have that little push clip, just push it up and push it in. Like, you'll see that it's just hooked. Once you push up and in, it should all slide. Slide those pieces up and out. Grab on, slide backwards, lift out. Same with right here. Just do the same. Once the plastic is out, now we can mount our power supply. Instructions. Carrying case for all your extra parts. Grab all this, throw it all right here. After we have all our connectors right here, you'll see that you have your major power supply. So what I did is I just lightly put it in here just to test fit it, slid it up front. If you take a look, or well, it's not sitting there right now, but if I slid it right here, it lines up. All my screws line up, gonna fit nicely. Now, I'm gonna leave this loose because I wanna still be able to see what power units I'm plugging in. If you don't care about that, mount it in now. And I mean, you've only got the 4 ports. You can always light this up with a flashlight, plug in, and then route your wiring to keep your case nice and clean. Or you can do your PSU kind of last, and that way you just plug in the powers you need so you can actually read the back end if you want it easily accessible. If you open up your motherboard package, bam, we got lovely pieces in here. Put this piece off to the side. We have our motherboard. We're going to lightly put it in here and see if our screw holes line up. Also, with your motherboard template here, if you want, before you tie this in, squish it up and in, so that way it of course sinks in around these little notches, so it gets held in. It'll get held in by the board, but this also holds it in so it doesn't move around. So this case right out of the box is lined up exactly in the screw holes I needed. So all I'm going to be doing is just going around and just confirming everything is good. Yep, right there, right there, right there. And now that I know that it's good, all right, when you're putting this in, make sure you use the little mini machine screws like so. Don't use the big hefty ones like this. Those are meant for like fans and other things. You go stripping those in and you're gonna cry. So tighten these, but don't wrench on them like the Hulk or you'll crack your board obviously. So just tighten them up hand tight. All right, so if you're looking at this, get your nail underneath and flip it up. Magnetic rack once again. We're gonna move, or I'm gonna move my 2 major fans from right here to right here underneath. So that way I'm able to put my cooler right here because it's so thick it'll bump my RAM if I put my cooler on the top facing. So what I did is I unscrewed them from here, re-screwed them up here. I gave them a little bit more space so it's evenly spread across the motherboard. If you want, you could have one down, one out, whatever you want to do really. And then the other thing I had to do is just trim some zap straps from back here just to redo the lighting. Doesn't matter, all this stuff comes with so many zap straps, it allows you to play with stuff. So now that I've moved these 2 fans here, plug them back into the lighting controller. If you take a look, small screw, machine screw with washer. Come on, focus, hocus pocus. No, it's not going to, that's okay. And you're just gonna put that through here and it screws into the radiator. And you'll see the 8 points where it lines up. just lightly thread them in. Again, make sure it lines up how you want it to and the best for your wire management. So I ended up taking out the bottom fan too. Maybe I'll relocate that to right here, so I have one more fan right here at the back, because this is going to eat up that whole space. So might as well put her right here so we have all three right there. See the airflow direction arrow? If you look really closely, you'll see it. It's aiming towards me. So what you're going to do is aim your power to the back of the case and slip it through that grommet, and then use the longer screws and tie it into the radiator with the 4 long screws. You have this little clip on the back. You'll notice that it is for Intel. What you're going to do is come over here, go to the back, and you're going to line these little peg holes up with the holes on the back. Don't crush your wiring, I'm just trying to show you, but you're just going to basically line those holes up so you can press them through, because you're going to use those as threading. So make sure they stick in to each of those 4 holes. You want to make sure you're not in a dusty area. We're going to be lifting this. Now, notice how my arms are on the case. If you don't have a grounding strap, make sure you're grounded. We're going to lift this arm out of the way, and we're going to lift this up. So that way we can expose our pins. This is where it gets really scary. You don't want to get any dirt, anything on these pins whatsoever. You can see the little handle. All you had to do is flex it out, lift it up. Once you flex, lift, you're going to see this right here. Just lift that out. Look at this. All these pins and stuff is exactly what I'm talking about. You don't want to mess with these. This is the really crazy part. Right here, you're going to see all these. You're just going to open this up ever so gently as I break it. Okay. And again, just do this. If you admire the bottom, you'll notice that there is a pattern. And if you look on the chip, there's a pattern too. So we notice it has to sit like this. Sorry, battery died there. The wording, when you're looking down at your computer, you should see, if you're looking at it from this angle, it should say Asus, and then your i7 stuff should be all right here. You just squish it down, lock it in. Make sure your hooks go under this screw. So I usually flip this down, and as you slide it in, it'll lock in under there. Then you lock it into here. It's now down. Next, we can put our cooler on it. Next thing is to take the little posts, screw them in, just finger tight. That's all I did, is I lightly screwed them in. Now that they're in, we can technically just line, you can take off the cover, put it on, and then you're going to take these and then screw them on over top, and that'll press the CPU against here. Again, make sure the top's clean, take a look, make sure there's no debris on it, and then look here, and then do the same, and then you can put this over the posts, sort of line it up, and then tighten these to hold it on. Take a look, got it here, tightened, all set up. And yeah, all you had to do was, it literally only fits in the 4 corners. So once you slide it on, just thumb screw them. I would go from here, like slightly tighten, and then just go side to sides as you do it. Huzzah, a 1080 appeared. GeForce GTX 1080. We'll be using this until a 1080 Ti comes in stock, which there is nothing in stock in BC right now. So for right now, we're going to open up our RAM, and we're going to be putting them in the designated slots here. Pretty easy. Your RAM will only click in one way. So when you're putting this in, make sure you flip these all forward, and then what you do is line it up on the track. See the track right here? And then once you line them both up on the track, press down, and it slides in. So take it like so, just on the edges, like I said, and all you do is you line it up on the track. I wasn't going to show you because it's so dark in here. Once it's on the track, that's it. Press them both down. You'll hear one side click, other side click in. Now we're going to put in the M.2. First thing we got to do is we have to remove these 3 screws right here so this all comes up. Note the little tab right here. See how this is big, little. The reason why I bring this up is big, little. Pretty easy. Slide it in there. When you're putting this in, what you do is you slide it in, you see where it's going to be. You'll notice that there's 3 little holes. They're about the same depth as that one, which of course will not reach to the bottom, so don't reef it down to see where it's going to line up. After you do that, locate this little package that has this silver post and the silver screw. You're going to put the post in, bend it down, and put the silver screw in. After that's locked in, when you're putting in your M.2, make sure you peel this off. It's a thermal paste, so when you put this back on, it'll keep the SSD nice and cool. So I found out I had to take my CPU cooler and actually flip this completely around. And the reason why was, and I'm still going to zap strap this here and out of the way anyway when I'm done. Or, well, exactly not in the fan, but pretty close, so it's up and out of the way. But then I took my two CPU wires and I tucked them in and around through here, plugged them in, so that way they're plugged into the two fans on the front. When you're putting a quick disconnect on your drive, it's pretty easy. See how these flip out and see how there's silver pins? So what you do is you line one side up with the silver pins, push it in, flex this side out, and then you let the pins slip in to where the screw holes will go. Now if you want to, for security purposes, you can put two screws in the center. If not, you can just leave it as a quick disconnect, completely up to you. As you can see, nicely in. If you have a 20 pin like so, before you put the graphics card in, make sure you plug in your 20 pin for the top of your case USBs right here. Next thing you want to do is just sink in your graphics card. Pretty easy. Just grab it and sink it into one of the posts. After you do that, make sure you pull out the quick disconnect for it. So look at this one, that's for your first plate. I'm going to put the graphics card in this one, that's my second plate. So it takes up two plates. Leave the top one, loosen off the two, and then you can put in the two thumb screws if you'd like, this one and this one. Once you get those in, find that power in your power and we'll start lining that power up. So if you look for the one with the biggest one, that's the M8, that's going to power your motherboard. So you can plug that into your motherboard, feed it into your case, bring it out and have it just sitting there. Why? Because this one sits up front, so it's going to be the hardest. Next is, if you're only running one graphics card, grab your EVGA cable. If you're flying, you might want to grab the dual cable, or you're going to need two of these, and they've got more ports. There's like 3 or 4 different ports on here for cards. So I'm going to go into EVGA 1, and that's going to come up to the graphics card, so feed it through and pop it out so it cleans up your wiring. Okay, so ignoring these two, I'm going to zap strap these on the other side, so this is all cleaned up. But right here we have our motherboard power. Here is our graphics card power. As you can see, graphics card, motherboard, and along the bottom is 2 SATA plugins. And then the Corsair actually is powered by SATA. This drive is powered by SATA. And I think there's a light controller as well that's powered by the SATA. Yeah. So I've got, believe it or not, I have a method to my madness here. If you got an audio port like so, you can tell because it has one pin that is blocked. And you'll notice that there's one pin blocked on this one. This is your front case audio port, just plug it in here. For this part, I always find it easiest to look up on here, see where it has all of it listed for your front panel. We'll see all these little ones. You're gonna see like a reset switch. Well, look on here and find the reset switch. See where it says reset ground, reset RST con number, and no connection. So you're gonna look at all these. You're gonna see 5 volt, and then you're gonna see right there speaker 5 volt, ground, all that other stuff. We're just gonna match them up. Pretty easy for the most part. They all stay towards this end. If you take a look, the center connection is a no connection. And like I said, if you're just looking at this, it's pretty easy. Power LED plus, power LED negative. The power switch, there only goes in 2, even though they made the box so big, nothing goes in that blank connector. This back hook back here, I did trim it, and I trimmed it on a bit of an angle so it could still slip in. Because I have the fan here, it just wouldn't fit, so I just trimmed the smallest piece off the front end. So you'll notice if you have to do it. It was just the littlest bit, so I took it, trimmed it, and it slid in, locked in, and now I'm going to put in the 3 security screws in the back. Next thing to make sure you do is plug in your extra wire from your CPU. You'll see that one 3-pin connector. I know it's a 4-pin, but it just slides in just like that. This is for optional. This is for 1. Put in the fan controls. So you have chassis fan control, you have another CPU fan control, and then you have your M.2 fan control down there. All I did is I plugged it into there. You'll see there are 4 ports and yours are 3 ports maybe, or they could be 4. Either way, you'll see that there's an indent. Just make sure they line up and they slide into the indent. As you can see, just zap strapped it up a little bit, all cleaned up. A little bit messier down here, but there's a lot going on coming out of that power supply and of course the hard drive bay. So from this point, make sure hard drive is plugged in, which it is. Everything's good here. I'm going to leave this exposed so I can play with these fan controls and go to the other side. Make sure none of the fans have wires coming through and touching them. Like this is a little close, I'll probably pull that over a little bit more just to keep that away from the fan. But little wires here are free and away from the fan, which is what I really want to make sure of. And then there's this one wire here. I could always zap strap. I might put one zap strap in here in the case. We'll see. But yeah, that's all there is to this. Anyways, I'm gonna go plug this in and get Windows started. Pretty baller, take a look at that. We got fan spinning, we got different colors happening. Everything from the RAM to the CPU cooler. Everything is just lit up. So, this is BIOS when you first turn on your system. CPU fan is going, which is good. We have M2, the optional fan, which is one of our other fans, as well as channel 1. Those 3 are all 3 going. So far so good. The other thing we're doing right now is we've got Windows 10 downloading on a USB, so that way we can plug it in. This is a pretty easy tool to go online and download. Just type in Windows 10 to USB if you don't have a CD player like we don't on this system. Well, we got the screen up. As you can see, we've been downloading some stuff, and that's it for this computer build. Thanks again for watching, guys. Like it if you liked it, and subscribe for more.